Between a good sports car and a great one can't be measured with a stopwatch or on a rolling road.
But the latest Porsche Boxster is quicker and more powerful than ever before, especially if you go for the S version we've got here. Now this car's already been to our test lab and it won't surprise you to know that it was good, very good in fact. But now it's time to drive it on some real roads and find out what makes it great. Let's start with that engine. The S gets a 3.4 litre flat six that produces 315 brake horsepower.
You can also have a 265 brake horsepower 2.7 litre six in the regular Boxster, saving yourself £8 in the process. Both cars come with a choice of 6-speed manual or a 7-speed PDK gearbox with shift paddles behind the steering wheel.
There are three things I love about this engine. The first is the noise. It's got that raspy metallic sound that's so reminiscent of the 911. Just makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck.
Second is the speed. This Boxster will hit 62 miles an hour in less than 5 seconds. Find a German autobahn and it will keep going all the way to 172 miles an hour.
And the third is the way that power is delivered. The Boxster's in the minority of modern cars in that it's got a naturally aspirated engine. That means no turbo lag, just a relentless surge of power all the way to 7,000 RPM. Wow.
That power is pointless if the chassis can't cope with it, but the Boxster doesn't disappoint there either. Its engine is in the middle of the car and that gives it near perfect weight distribution.
On the road, that means an amazing feeling of balance and agility. You almost think the Boxster around corners rather than physically driving it.
The downside to a mid-engine can be tricky handling, but the Boxster has so much grip, you're unlikely to test its limits on the road.
Even if you do, the PSM stability control system will cut in and keep everything pointing in the right direction. This is a car that flatters you. It makes you feel like you're a better driver than you really are. And that's a good feeling. So, the Boxster's a proper sports car, but could you drive it every day? Well, the ride is a bit bumpy around town, but it's more comfortable in here than you might think, and the finish is superb. I believe this is what they call Germanic build quality.
The roof opens and closes in just 9 seconds at speeds of up to 30 miles an hour, so there's no faffing around if you're caught out by a sudden rain shower.
And before you ask, no, you don't have to have this bloodbath colour scheme for the interior. It's a £3,000 option and one that's probably best avoided.
While we're talking practicality, the Boxster trumps most of its rivals by having 2 boots. We measured the combined volume at more than a Volkswagen Polo.
If this is all sounding a bit like a love letter to the Boxster, I'll make no apology for that. I've enjoyed driving this car as much as anything else I've driven this year, including the 911. And I even love the way it looks. But it isn't perfect. It's noisy when cruising at motorway speeds, even with the roof up. And the rear visibility is terrible, especially with the roof up.
Then there's the price. A basic Boxster costs £38,000, about half as much as a 911, and incidentally, cheaper than the Cayman Coupe. But you can easily add a 5-figure sum to that with extras. This car's got £14,000 worth of options, including that interior trim, £2,000 a piece for the sat-nav and sports exhaust, and £1,900 for the PDK gearbox.
The good news is, most of those options you don't really need. The Boxster's really about driving after all.
On that note, I'd do without the PDK and stick with the manual. There's a sense of mechanical connection with the car that you simply don't get from pulling a paddle.
The Boxster isn't cheap, but neither is it the sort of car that only Premiership footballers can afford. And the reality is that on the sort of roads I've been driving today, roads with potholes and speed limits and the occasional tractor, it's as much fun as any Italian supercar. No, the Boxster isn't perfect, but it isn't far off. If I had the money, it's definitely the sports car I'd buy.
Click here to read our full lab test review of the Porsche Boxster, watch our video of the Porsche Cayman taking on the Jaguar F-Type, and read our top 10 sports car buying tips.